So it's not up yet, my friend. Well, how's everybody doing? I'm Rob Rue, and I just am glad to be here with you. And what I wanted to do since last week is start a discussion, have a discussion with people that are kind of going through this whole thing together. The message keeps going. We're going through this whole. We're just all in this together. And so last week I was able to talk with Kyle Conroy from Conroy Funeral Home. I was able to have Charlie Patterson on here and talk about just kind of his complete perspective and how hard he's working. And then we also had Mike McDormand, our chamber president, and just kind of like the impact. So 7 days ago, since then, look at what has happened. Kind of like all the projections of the things coming out and the cases and the infections, and it's just really it's really daunting. It really is. And again, I want to say I said this. We had many of you know I'm a city commissioner, but we had our meeting on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Because we were in a state of emergency. And one of the things I said is how much I appreciate our governor's response and Dr. Acton's wisdom in this entire thing. So just really appreciate that. So as I was thinking about, I kind of wanted to do this weekly discussion to keep a dialogue going. And I've been thinking about the different aspects. Last week we talked about in the funeral business, we talked about, in the small business and other things and what we're seeing. One of the things I thought is, why not talk about education? So I called our superintendent, our city school superintendent, Dr. Bob Hill, and he's going to be with us in a little while. And then I also called Dr. Matt Franz with Clark State. He's the vice president of IT, and he also is in charge of their emergency response. So he's been working tirelessly. And then I also thought about, there's another perspective here that I think would be wise to have, and that is my wife, Jenny Rue, and she is been a homeschool mom for over 10 years. We have 5 children, and 4 of them she's been schooling ever since then, and since the beginning. And one of the things about my wife is she's super passionate about education. She taught in the city schools and Catholic Central and Northwestern, and other places. And she went to Wittenberg and studied chemistry there. So I'm going to bring her on in just a little bit, very soon, actually, honey. So get ready. But she started getting a couple text messages from friends, and then people would say, once schools closed down, they were like, they kind of text Jenny, say, have you been doing this, and what are you doing? So Eric is here. Eric is running this whole thing, and he is behind the camera today because we're paying special attention to this social distancing which I want to, of course, encourage everybody. But I'm going to go ahead and call my wife now, and I'm going to bring her on, and then we're going to talk to Bob Hill and Matt. May even keep everybody on the phone at the same time too, because I think there's going to be a lot of questions. But I'm going to go ahead and give Jenny a call. But I just want to say that as far as what I've been hearing in the community, like I said, we had a city meeting on Tuesday. I just also want to appreciate the public response. People have been cooperative. Our health commissioner said that last week. People have been, just kind of paying attention to social distancing. Businesses have been closing reluctantly, but knowing they need to be safe. So this is just quite a time, and it's just so important that we do come together. So I want to say from that, I'll talk to you a little bit at the end about something that we're going to do here as a business, but we're going to keep these discussions going, and we're going to keep them like you said, we're going to keep them ongoing and talking about what we can do as a community. And I just thought we'd go ahead and use our platform here to do this. So let me give my beautiful wife a call and get her on the phone. Then we will
Hello.
go from there. Jenny, hi.
Hi.
Didn't I just see you?
Yeah, I think you did.
So Jenny, I don't want to seem formal here, but of course I want to get my questions out that we're talking about. But why don't you, when you begin to hear the schools being closed down and some of the conversations you may have been hearing about homeschooling, Eric just said, hey, I'd really like to hear your wife's perspective because, there's like 20,000 families in our community that are just forced to homeschool. And you actually had a interesting phrase on what that actually should be called.
Yes. I mean, when I think my brother called me, he's like, how do you do this every day? And I'm like, this isn't what I do normally every day. This is so different for all of us. I mean, we're all in quarantine, so you could call it quarantine homeschooling for everybody because that's just not normally what we even do. I found the part that's a crisis is like I have to think about how to find groceries. Where can we go on a walk that our kids aren't gonna like run into other people and actually be able to walk without having to move every 3 seconds to get out of somebody else's way. We've had to make all of our meals from home too, and I've had to help them with a lot of big emotions because that's obviously been real for everybody. So our lives has changed obviously a little bit too in the midst of that. So I just want to say, like, it's hard for all of us, and don't think that we have it all. Oh, I've done this before. I can handle anything. I mean, this is hard for everybody too.
Excellent. It's true. So, so one of the couple, like I said, you got a text message or a couple from families, and you thought about some nuggets, like this is some basic advice, like people that have never, people have like, their jobs stopped essentially, and they're like, what, I don't even know really how to be home this much. I love my kids. I love being around them, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, but I don't really know how to do this. And now we're required to do some of this education and online and otherwise. So what kind of information or advice could you think of in that way and share? Whether it's the higher level in the high school being online, which they may be a little more adapt to online education, or just the youngers, go ahead and just share from your heart there.
Yeah. First of all, I wanted to say what you guys are doing. This is homeschooling is basically parenting on steroids, and it's coming alongside them in lots of different ways, and it's their education of their whole life. And you're the one put on this planet to help navigate them through their first 18 years, and hopefully after that they choose to want to learn. And hopefully even today they want to choose to want to learn, but I know that's the hardest part is motivation. And I guess if I could say anything, it would be like, it's okay to switch your schedule up. It's okay to like do something on Monday and by Friday you're doing something different. It's totally okay in this environment to say, okay, here's what I think we really need to focus on today. And if you get the 3 things done that you wanted to get done, it's a win. It's totally a win. Some other things that I thought about was like I was a math science. I love math science. I believed in it to my core and majored in it in college and taught it. But in the end, what I've seen in 10 years of homeschooling, there's nothing better than reading a good book out loud. And maybe you've never read aloud. When I first started reading out loud to our kids, I hadn't either. And I just was like, I'm not a fun mom. I don't make the voices. I don't do all that stuff. But I just kept reading and kept going. And there was distraction after distraction after distraction when we read aloud. But we just kept going after it. And even if it was a small chunk during the day, just trying it and trying again. And it might feel like failure 5 times, but reading aloud has so many different realities just mixed in with it. The kids are increasing their vocabulary. You're focused on one thing, and you'll be surprised. They do get into the storyline of a fiction book, and it's amazing. And if anything could happen during this time, if they got a love of reading, that would be ultimately a huge win for a whole community. If we could have like readers by the end of this time. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, because
and
kids,
then
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, just how much kids pay attention and love to, hear their caregiver, their parents, their voice just to read to them. So, and how important that is, and they actually learn faster. I think you've even studied that a little bit.
Yeah. One other thing that I wrote down was it's okay to go after a little habit during this time. Like if they have some little win, and even if you guys have some little win in your life of a habit they went after, that would be huge. Like we've done this in our family during this time, and our oldest son, who could be learning how to drive a car right now, but can't because he's stuck at home. He's like, I'm going to fold my laundry when it comes out. That's huge for him, and just little habits. Our youngest is potty training, and I'm like, if we could just get him to go number 2 on the potty every time and not have an accident again, that would be huge. And just redefining what a win is, I think, for all of life, I think we just need to we can have great expectations and we need to, but if we can just be willing to say, I believe that was a win for the day, it just will help our attitude and our motivation level, because that's really what over the long haul we need to sustain is our motivation to keep doing it day after day after day.
Yeah, I know that I'm super guilty about that, but like if I don't feel like I am absolutely, hitting the ball out of the park and doing a grand slam home run with something I'm trying to start or doing, then I don't feel like I'm even, doing well at all. And so what I hear you saying is that, it's important, and what I've seen you do with the kids is just, listen, let's just have one of these little victories. One little victory is going to create, many little victories will have one big victory that is super important. Is that right, hon?
Yep, that's definitely true.
One of the books I think you've read that would be good to share is, what's it called? Atomic Habits. Is that right?
Oh, I just read the summary of that book, but that's the premise is if you can just do one little thing, it's going to increase your ability for capabilities in long-term habits.
So
that's what we all want.
Yeah, for sure. So you got
one other thing about the kitchen. I have to say this about the kitchen.
The kitchen.
The kitchen. I know we're talking about education, but if homeschooling really is what we're all doing, your kitchen's going to be a mess, and it's okay. It's okay. Your kitchen's getting used, and that's what it's for, is to get used. And you're making 3 meals in it a day. And hopefully, our life can fall apart over cleaning up dishes. So I totally get it. And
because I'm super pleasant when I come home and the kitchen's a mess.
Super pleasant.
I mean, super. Happy, enjoy now.
Right. No. But you think that might not be education related, but it totally is during this time. It's just that, we're all learning skills about how to clean up after we eat right now, and whose job is it, and just pray that doesn't turn into a fight every time, because we're still getting over that over here too. But it's okay that your kitchen doesn't stay clean. It's not meant to, and it's being used 3 times a day.
That's true. And it is. And here's one of those, in the midst of a tragedy, there can be a sweet spot, a blessing. And the fact that, you and I have taken more walks this week than we have in the last, couple months, and then taking those walks, which she always wants to go for a walk, and I say no, and I'm going to get better about that. But anyway, but I've also seen families out there walking around, because you know what? There's just, what else are they going to do? And Eric's shaking his hand. He's a big walker already, but I've seen, I saw Coach Fincham out the other day, and I'm like, he's out with the entire family. And I'm like, I felt the same way. I'm like, here we are, why haven't we done this in the past? But people are forced now to do things they didn't get to do in the past with family. And then we have this unexpected time off and with the unknown, and to take advantage of that at all levels.
So true. So you're together a lot, but I will say this. Do you remember when your kids were little and they took naps at 2, and it was like your sanity time, and you could finally do some fun things that you wanted to do for yourself? I just want to institute, you should go back to nap time reality. And not that they need to take a nap, but they need to, everybody go to their own place, wherever that is, and do talking, and just have some time in the day where they do get to regroup and be by themselves. I know they might I want to go talk to my friends now or something, but we just need time away from each other, even in close quarters too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
So let's go ahead and get Bob on here. Dr. Hill, he's our city school superintendent, and Jenny and I are well aware that there are so many different family dynamics out there. Very aware of that, and so many people have been put in different hardships. And I just want to say before Bob comes on here that just super appreciate his leadership in our community. So Bob, I'm getting ready to call you, and we're going to merge you together here with my wife, and then we'll go ahead and get Matt on in a little bit as well. It's coming.
You reached the
Oh no.
for area code 61.
Oh no, Bob, come back. Well, hey, we'll come back to Bob, but let's go ahead and let me try this again one more time. Let's give an opportunity, unless you just text and then I can call Matt. But sorry about that, guys. These things do happen, right? When you're doing these, and I always wanted to do these video casting things, but not really under the circumstances that we're all faced right now. So let me go ahead and get my wife back on here, and then we'll see if I can get Bob on here, and then we'll give Matt a call as well.
hello.
Okay, stay with me.
Okay.
Thanks. And Robert. If he doesn't, I'm calling you, Matt, if for some reason Bob can't join us, okay?
Hey, Rob. How are you?
Hey, how are you? I'm just going to go ahead and merge you on here. There we go. Bob, thanks for coming on. How are you getting along?
It's okay. It's been pretty stressful for us trying to basically put together virtual education overnight, but we're hanging in there.
For sure. I don't know if you heard my wife say earlier. She said, "I don't know if I would call this homeschooling. What would you call it, Jenny?"
Crisis or quarantine schooling?
Quarantine schooling. That'd probably be a little more accurate, wouldn't it, Bob?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. It's certainly been a challenge. I think for everybody.
Yeah. So, Bob, you were faced with some significant decisions right away, and some that was coming straight from the top with school, and kind of like to go back just a minute and kind of listen to when you were starting to say starting to realize schools are going to be closed. What was your initial reaction, and how are we going to pull this off? Can you share a couple things? And I got more specific questions for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a gut feeling that something was going to happen based on all of this. And so we were actually a little bit ahead of the game and had started planning, I think it was the previous week, to put some things together. And, one of our biggest challenges, as you guys know, is poverty.
Yeah.
We estimate that approximately 30 to 40% of our kids do not have internet access or devices at home.
What was that percentage again? Say that again.
We based on our survey data, and it's a little bit inaccurate. We're trying to get a better gauge right now, but the latest survey data that we had was anywhere between 30 and 40%.
Wow. Yeah.
We're 100% free lunch, community choice district, and it's tough. With some of the residents in town, we don't think that there's even cable or internet drops to get the internet, and so our first reaction was we need to put something together in a paper packet. Pulled our instructional coaches together. We really tried to take that burden off of the teachers because of how quickly we knew that we were going to have to turn things around.
Yeah.
So we produced these packets, and boom, the governor closes schools for 3 weeks. We were able to get everything distributed for the most part that Friday. Our 9 through 12 students at Springfield High and School of Innovation were able to take their devices home. That's what we do standard throughout the school year. They all have iPads.
Okay.
So we had actually shot the packet out in a PDF to the iPads for those kids.
Okay.
the remaining 6,000 kids in the district, it was all paper packets. Got most of them out on Friday, and they were it was two things. For students that were in core classes, they received released air test items, so just kind of an enrichment and practice items. For students in the non-core, not tested subjects, it was mostly just an enrichment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Monday was very sparse. I bet we only have 1/3 of our kids in school. So we had to, throughout that first week, it would have been last week.
So that was the first day of actual shutdown, right? Like, we're going to be open today and this is it. Is that right?
Yeah, end of the day Monday. Mm-hmm. And so we set up with our principals to have the buildings open and allow for people to come and pick up packets for 2 days. Mm-hmm. Distributed as many as we could, and have been planning ever since to try to transition to really virtual remote learning.
Wow, it's just such
that was a mouthful. So sorry about that.
No, it's true. I mean, this is just what everybody's been faced with. In doing this. So for the I know one of the things I got as a commissioner pretty quick was, what are we going to do about all the kids that are counting on this food? Something that you already brought up. I mean, they're counting on these lunches and breakfast and they're not able. How are they going to get them? So what's been the response and what's been done for that?
So we through some of the relaxation of the federal guidelines, and since we're a community provision district, we're held to significantly different standards than really anybody else in the county. There's a lot of federal requirements. Well, fortunately, they waived a lot of those, and we were able to distribute meals last week every day. We went Monday through Friday and distributed both breakfast and lunch. We served, it increased each day. I think by Friday, we distributed around 800 or 900 meals on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
It was 5 or 6 the day before, 3 or 4 the day before that. And then we also partnered with the food bank. On Friday, we were supposed to have food box distribution at 7 of our buildings. Something happened with their trucks and they were unable to get to the lot. So we quickly punted and redirected people to the food bank. And Tyra said they had a line that was really out the door.
Wow.
People picking up, boxes for spring break because we were not able to distribute during spring break. We will pick back up next week on Wednesday, April 1st.
Picking back up the lunches and things on April 1st?
Yeah. The plan is to distribute 5 days worth of food on Wednesday. And assuming that the governor's order takes us beyond April 6th, we will distribute 5 days of food every Wednesday.
Okay.
It's really based on everything that they're saying. We want to limit as much exposure and contact as we can with people.
Mm-hmm.
We're still practicing the social distancing, but we want to go down to 1 day a week just from a safety standpoint and, get those 5 meals out there to feed our kids.
Yeah.
And presumably, my gut is that we won't be back in school this school year.
Yeah.
Which means that we will continue those distributions throughout the end of the year and then likely transition to our summer feed program like we piloted the last couple of years.
Okay. Yeah, that was the one thing I definitely wanted to ask you about. Is yesterday I think the governor was asked, about closing schools, and he wasn't willing to make that, make that decision. And I don't think he did today. I was watching, but so as far as that, how did you feel? Are you looking for that decision? Did you expect it this week already?
I did not. I think there have been some rumblings that the governor has asked for input and wants the superintendent to kind of weigh in on everything. And I think they're probably going to wait until the end of the initial closure period. I think he has indicated and not come out and said it, but has hinted that there's a strong possibility, with the peak of the virus being around the 1st of May, as they're saying.
Well, so
We've
today,
only got.
just so you know, he said mid-May. He just said
Oh,
that.
did he say
Yeah,
mid-May?
and
Well,
this was
that
within today's press conference.
okay. Yeah, I actually was at the office
Mm-hmm.
today, recording a video update for parents, and so I missed the last part of the press conference when I was coming home. So, with that in mind, I would think that our chances of going back are probably pretty slim.
Yeah, I said this last week that our governor does a good job of kind of preempting us on the next decision. When we were on last Friday, he had made the decision to close small businesses, as far as, closing the state. And that kind of, but he was hinting at it today with discussing the peak needs to be flattened even farther. The timeline needs to be flattened. I kind of anticipate that I think early next week he's going to probably talk about that, especially if he's already getting input from you all and kind of figuring that out.
Yeah, that's my hope. I mean, the sooner the better.
It's hard for parents to plan.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely, because and who knows how long he extends to stay at home. I mean, that really affects everybody in town as well.
Right, absolutely. So one of the things, I want to get Matt Franz on here from Clark State, and if you'd stay with us. But so the changes that are inevitable for the higher, my niece is a senior, and there's others that are out there. What changes have been made to get these kids into college next year? Testing requirements, all the other things. And by the way, I know my wife's still on here, so she may say no. You already have that answer, Rob. But Bob, what do you think? Is there any changes that you could just share quickly about that?
Was that me or was that Matt?
That was actually, I was asking you, but I'm going to get Matt on here in a minute, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. Got you. Yeah. Everything that we're seeing, essentially they have canceled IB testing. And for those kids, there's going to be a different process where they're still able to get their diplomas based on if their coursework at school meets the standards of the program. So we're working on that right now. AP testing will be done at home via a home computer, is my understanding. That's what AP has come out and said. Mm-hmm. As long as students were on track to graduate prior to the closure, they're still on track to graduate. There's going to, based on what I've read legislatively, and I believe he signed that today, we're going to have to figure out what the GPA looks like, what class rank, what will we be able to graduate? How do we celebrate these kids? But bottom line is they're going to graduate. They're going to get into college. We're going to make sure that we do everything legally that we can to make sure that they get everything they deserve.
That's awesome. Hey, let's go ahead and get Matt on here. He's been waiting and patient, so I appreciate that. Wait, I have a specific number I need to call him on. He's at the office. Thank you. And by the way, my friend Matt has been many days in the office, more than ever expected. So I'm calling you.
Hey, Rob.
There you are. Dr. Franz from Clark State Community College. Thanks for joining us. And we still got Bob and my wife on the phone, so this is great. So we were just talking, Matt, about the college, coming into college. What's that look like now? But before we get there, could you, so you are the vice president of Internet Technology, IT, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what's your other unique title that this is very important right now in Clark State's life?
So emergency management, and that basically comes down to safety and security, as well as emergency planning.
So you have been all hands on deck 24/7, haven't you?
You know what? We've had a team of people on hand all the time, but primarily, me and the president and our executive cabinet have been in communication pretty much every day, every hour, for at least the last several weeks.
Mm-hmm. So for Clark State, what, we were talking just the major changes. So what immediately did you go to once this started to roll out these shutdowns? What did you find yourself doing right away?
On the day that this was all kind of happening, it was March 10th, I believe. We were all prepared by that point. We had updated our continuity plans. We were talking about, okay, what are the different scenarios? What are the different criteria that would trigger those scenarios? And when we heard from the governor kind of where, what he was saying, we just implemented those plans, and we got press releases out. We started communications with faculty, staff, and students, and just kind of began going in that vein of making a plan, ensuring we're following the plan, and setting up those trigger points.
Mm-hmm. So you guys already had a pretty large online community, right, for education?
We do. About 17% of our students are taking online classes, but at least half of our students have taken at least one online class.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reality is Clark State was really well positioned for this because the majority of our faculty have already been trained to teach online. We have the tools for that, but also a majority of our students have at least been exposed to doing classes online.
Oh, that's good. So we were just talking about testing. Go ahead. Were you saying something? Sorry. So anyway, we were talking about some of the testing changes and kind of relaxing the dates. Is that the same thing you're seeing? And how are kids going to still be able to get into Clark State on time? Things like that.
So the interesting thing is the faculty have done an amazing job of pivoting. So when I say March 10th, that was the second day of spring break. So students and most of our faculty are out. And so on that day, we made a huge change to our operations. And we immediately engaged the faculty. And in the faculty, they run the education process. They manage everything in the classroom. And so we worked with them and said, hey, listen, this is going to happen. Begin to make the plans. Begin to start switching your traditional courses into an online format. And they did it, and they did it in different ways that in their perspective is going to be what's most successful for the student. But so what have they done? They've changed their testing, they've changed their assessments, they've changed the way that they're delivering lectures. We have some that are recording lectures and then sending it out. We have some that are doing live video collaborations. We have some that are, getting groups of students together via GoToMeeting or other technologies, phone even. It's been pretty fantastic to see people innovate in this crisis.
That's good. That's good. Does Bob or Jenny, do you have any questions before I keep rambling on here for Matt or each other?
Not yet, I don't think.
Okay, Jenny.
I think I have a question for Bob. I mean, with the state testing rules relaxed for K-12 testing this year.
Mm-hmm.
And my thought is you're still going to be passing out papers to kids every so often, probably. Do you think that will the teachers still follow the curriculum they would have? Do they have more of a liberal way in which they approach how they help their kids come along, or are they going to still project on the course curriculum that they have?
It's still going to be the course curriculum that the state requires. Probably definitely not as much. We have spent the last 2 weeks coming up with plans and taking input from the teachers regarding creating Google Classrooms. The issue is going to be, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier, connectivity and access. We have devices, K-12, to give out to students. However, I'm not sure what that looks like at this point. We are trying diligently to determine the actual percentage of internet access, as well as the actual percentage of students that have devices at home. I would really like to avoid paper at this point, just because of some of the published health risks that are out there regarding the virus and its ability to live on porous surfaces. I've seen varying things from 24 hours to more. But with our lack of connectivity and devices, I doubt we're going to be able to do that. So we're going to have to figure out what that looks like for that percentage of kids that do not have access to the Google Classroom. And that is really what we're slated to try to work through next week.
Busy. So Matt, as far as getting the students in for next year, because of all this, are you anticipating there's going to be an increase in the student body because of just you guys have a good blended of traditional and non-traditional model for education at the college level?
So do you mean future terms?
Yeah, I
like
mean, just
summer
like
and fall?
because of the nation's been, we're in a pandemic. There's a huge change, economic shift. I mean, what are you expecting or what are you anticipating as a community college here in the area?
One of the strengths of the community college in general is its ability to adjust with economy and industry needs and changes. So I would say that, if you were to ask me the things that I've been reading, I see some growth in the community college, honestly. I see some growth because I think that some jobs are going to change. I think that companies are going to shift how they do work. And so that's going to create new opportunities that people may need a different set of skills for. And hopefully they reach out to the community college, both from a student perspective and from an industry perspective, and say, hey, listen, we need these skills. What can you do to offer those? And we can certainly bend and adjust to that easily.
That's good. Hey, I want to bring up the one topic, Bob and Matt, is sports. And so I guess that if the governor decides to close school, that's going to take care of the sports decision, correct?
Yeah, pretty much, I think.
I know that there's even a couple private schools, they haven't really pulled that trigger yet either. But at this point, it'd be hard to, even with Tokyo, they said the Olympics aren't for till 21 now and things like that. So there's so many changes.
The OHSAA did cancel winter sports or winter tournaments yesterday. So, I would, looking into the future, assume that the governor's going to probably put them in a position to cancel everything, but we don't know that yet.
Mm-hmm. So, Matt, I got to bring up a topic that, then we're almost done, guys. So I appreciate you guys being on here, but I want to bring up kind of a lighthearted topic that you and I were eating lunch over, and you brought this, you were kind of working on this and talking about, just what colleges are seeing in, what's it, the online sports or something like that? I'm such like a small boomer. Esports. Listen to me. So you were just kind of sharing that you've seen this trend across universities that are actually looking to incorporate this into their sports plan. Is that right?
So yeah, Clark State is definitely, we just before this, actually, it was one of my focus topics. It was bringing an esports team or multiple teams to the college. We have some in the area. It is one of the largest growing sports. I believe I read a statistic that last year, and I cannot remember the specific age range, but it was something like 18 to 34 males was the number 2 viewed sport over baseball, which was kind of interesting. And so it's growing so fast that's one of the things that we're looking at doing for the fall.
And big universities are putting in actually esports arenas and things like that, or at least looking at them before all this. I'm sure it may be on the back burner now, but who knows?
Yeah, some of them out west in particular, they were building multi-million-dollar stadiums that were exclusively just for esports, which is just tremendous.
Yeah, as a 50-year-old, I can't comprehend it, but I'm in. I'm just like, this is crazy that these things could actually be a part of our college sports programs. And could people get scholarships for doing this? Is that right, Matt?
They absolutely do.
That's wild. Well, hey guys, do you have any final thoughts? Like I said, I want to have an ongoing community conversation. Matt, you've been super patient because we're going to be on last week together and didn't get to, but if you guys want to each lead off on the final thought, and Matt, we can just kind of start with you, and then we'll just kind of say goodbye. But I appreciate you guys being on here. Matt, do you have any final thoughts or information, or just for the community, anything?
Sure. The one thing I would say is that Clark State is a huge partner in this community, as everyone on this phone call is, regardless. I mean, there's just so many different layers there. But our students are, and you said this earlier, Rob, our students represent such a huge, diverse group. I mean, we've got high school students, we've got older adults who are retired that are coming back to just learn some new skills and everything in between. And so the level of diversity has been a real value, because I think we're seeing a lot of information sharing, not just from the faculty to students, but from the students to the faculty, and saying, hey, let me help you with this technology, or let me help other students with this technology that may not have the same ability. So it's been a tremendous thing to watch and to hear the stories. Our president, Dr. Blondin, she's keeping notes on what are the silver linings. And I would say one of the biggest things that I would recommend for industry or for businesses or groups that are at home is you need to connect with everybody as often as you can. Again, I mentioned the president, Dr. Blondin. She had an open door meeting today, just kind of hey, let's do something to engage people. And there were 50 people in this meeting, and some of it was work, some of it was personal, but it was just kind of a good mental health. Let's look at each other in the eyes and see each other and kind of just laugh a little bit. It was just amazing. So I just encourage everyone to stay connected online, whether it's calls, whether it's emails, whatever, but just stay connected and really check in on each other.
Yeah, that's really good. And I just want to also give a shout out to Dr. Joe. She is amazing. One of the I just super value as one community leader to another. Dr. Joe is such a huge asset to our community, Matt. And I know you feel the same way. We've had conversations just about how much you appreciate her leadership. But Dr. Joe, if you're listening, thank you so much for what you're doing in our community and your commitment to the community. How about Dr. Bob?
Really the same thing that Matt said. It's really important for all of us to stay connected. And honestly, we're in this together. This is truly one Springfield. And without everybody trying to support each other, we're never going to make this happen. This was a transition for the city schools that had to be done overnight, and we're going to get better at it. One of the things that I tweeted out yesterday or a couple of days ago was that I know that our parents are going to say that we did, or I think our parents are going to say that we did okay with virtual learning. What I do know is that they're going to say that we care about kids. Everybody needs to pull together, and we'll make this happen for everybody, and try to make the best of a bad situation and keep on educating the kids like they deserve.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate you being on here. Jenny, do you have any final thoughts or encouragement?
Oh, I guess I just would say to parents, like, you have it in you to come alongside your kids during this time, and we all can do it. We really all can. And it's grace that we can do it, and it's every day, and we can do it for the long haul if we need to.
Appreciate all of you guys being on here, and take care, and blessings to your families as well, and wash your hands. Yeah, thanks for being on here, guys. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye-bye. So one of the things that, like I said, it was great to have the discussion about education. I had a couple of people are just saying, are they going to close schools? What are they going to do? These things are coming. Again, I think I said this last week as well. Information is out there. If you're looking, you're going to find it. I know that we had a good amount of views the last time. So I thought, as a business at Littleton and Rue, we're not just here just as a funeral home or as a place where we just do life celebrations, but we're also a place where we care about our community. We've always been engaged to our community. So it's one of the things we're doing is just, how can we continue the discussion? People are probably looking at their phones more than ever before, believe it or not, and they're looking for information. So I wanted to have that discussion. I'm reaching out to a couple community leaders, actually one across the nation. Hope to get her on here. We got I'm kind of online friends and been communicating with one of the mayors out in California. So I may try to talk with her and see if she would come on and kind of just give us that perspective from the West Coast. But we will see. And then also looking just to have, like I said, to keep this discussion going on. So I appreciate you joining today, watching. The idea is just to get information out there and to keep talking. So stay, in the city meetings, Mr. Otis always comes in, he says, be good to your neighbor. We're all in this together. He says it after he talks every time. And I just want you to know that's true. Be good to your neighbor. We are all in this together. And it's one of the unique times in probably our lives that we are going to have to actually, where we can all have one common goal and one common enemy to fight against. And we want to see this thing, done. We want to get back to life. Life will probably never be as we knew it, but what it can be, and for a good future. So just want to encourage you, and thanks for joining. And I think that's all I got. So like I said, I'm going to try to do this next Friday around the same time, and you can look for announcements on that. So thanks for joining, and take care. Thanks.